Good afternoon. It is July 30th. I wanted to talk to you about a couple things. Sometimes I'm saying the things that I think you ought to do, and today I'm going to show you something that I shouldn't have done. That's okay, because I wanted to demonstrate a little something of value, I think. Maybe sometimes overlooked. And has nothing to do with this tree. I'm just checking it out. There's plenty of fruit on this tree, and it's all going to come to fruition. Every single one of them. And there's a lot. But what I wanted to talk to you about today, and I'll try and keep it short too, is this little tree here. And here's a perfect example of what not to do. Okay? So you might be thinking, what does he mean? I'm going to show you. And I've given this advice in my other videos from time to time, but I didn't follow my own advice, and that's okay. I wasn't here for a little spell. And this is Zone 7B in Virginia, for those who want to know. And I've got some ripening main crop Ronde Bordeaux. And they've been ripening in New Jersey too. I picked a few before I left. The Ronde Bordeaux is generally my earliest main crop fig, and it's a wonderful fig. I've talked about it many times. But here you got a little tree, and it's kind of struggling. Oh, I'm going to sit down, if you don't mind. Cute little tree. I've got it close to the house. So I pinched this tree about a month ago or so, because I want to keep a lot of branches, fruit-bearing branches like these, low. I don't want this tree getting out of hand. And if it does, I'll have to use a radical pruning technique like I've demonstrated to you before in my other videos that you can see. But this little tree, I guess I kind of did it a little bit on purpose, but nah, I just messed up, okay? Put it that way. I wanted to show you what not to do. Now, I've left a lot of fruit on this tree, and this tree needs some help. It's a healthy tree. It's going to do fine, but it needs a little help. You got to help them. That's what you do. They don't have legs. They just can't walk around and do things. They can't water themselves. They can't prune themselves. They can't do anything for themselves except love you back if you love them and provide you with what you're looking for. Fruit, providing that you provide them with what they're looking for. Care, attention, tender loving care. Now, these fruits, what do they really mean? Okay, look. All right. Okay, so everybody wants a little bit of fruit. That's great, but these aren't even, look, it's not even, yeah, it's ripe. Look, who really cares? You know, I don't, because I want this tree. I'm going to pluck these off. See, sometimes you should pinch, and sometimes you should pluck. Okay. Sometimes you pinch, sometimes you pluck. Right now I'm plucking because I don't want these figs on this tree. I don't care if they get ripe and I can eat them. I've got plenty of figs to eat. Okay? I just do. And it's more important to me that I give this little tree a little help. And I should have done this before. This is something that you don't want to do. You don't want to wait. Just sacrifice. Now, I have plenty of trees. It's easy for me to say that because I've got probably 7 Ronde Bordeaux, and several of them are very large and full of fruit. So, you know, it's a judgment thing. It's a judgment call. If you personally feel like, well, I'm going to let this tree stagnate a little as far as new growth, and I realize that, you realize that you're holding it back, then go ahead and make that decision. If you want to keep some fruit on the tree. Now, these are all getting ripe right now, so you might be thinking, Louie's mad. He's gone mad. No, I haven't. I just don't care. Because I care for the tree more than I do care for a few extra figs that I'm going to eat. Now, I should have done this before, and for demonstration purposes, well, it is what it is, and I wanted to show you what not to do. Now, those figs, all of the energy that went into those figs, and there could be a few more here. I have to look it over. Yeah, I want them all out. Those figs, the energy that went into these figs could have gone into the branch formation and into the root development, more root development for more future fruiting. Don't get me wrong, this little tree's producing some fruit, but they're kind of small, did you notice? Even for Ronde Bordeaux, they're a bit small. Why? Because the tree's struggling. It's got too much fruit and there's not enough tree. But it's healthy, and it was going to ripen all those fruits. And I could have eaten them all and enjoyed them all, but I've got plenty of fruits to eat. I don't have to worry about that. And if you don't have a lot, let them grow. Or pick half of them off. Pluck half of them off. Pinch or pluck. Sometimes you do both. You pinch and you pluck. This tree, I did both. It's up to you. You're the architect. You're going to grow your tree. You're going to be the future scaffolding of your tree. It's going to depend on you. It relies on you. It's dependent entirely on you as the gardener. Okay, I've got a video that it's titled "The Best Fertilizer." The best fig fertilizer is the gardener's shadow. What does that mean? It means the result of how well your trees grow, or anything that you grow, is going to depend on you, the gardener, paying attention and being there. Your shadow, meaning you're there, you're watching, you're observing, you're interacting, you're interfacing, and you're facilitating exactly what it is that your plans are, whatever that design is in your head, that you want to see manifest itself into results, into fruit, into production, into a healthy tree with beautiful thick branches that can support plenty of fruit. That's our goal. That's what our goal is. And you don't do what I did this time to this little tree just because I had plenty of trees. Still, I should have plucked them off before. Now, I can use the excuse I'm not always here and I got away from me and blah, 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 blah. We can do that. Or I had plenty of fruit. You know what? I should have plucked them off. And now I did. But I'm glad I waited, because I was able to demonstrate to you the importance of doing that from time to time. Now, this little tree, this little Celeste tree that I planted from a cutting, 2 years old, put it here last spring. It's got some fruit on it. I plucked a few off. It doesn't have too many. It's not overburdened with too many fruits. So this is one of my favorite variants. It's a variant Celeste, and so I wanted to taste a few, but I plucked a few off, and it's so strong and vigorous, Celeste is, I don't have to worry about it too much. Now, this tree, very quickly, and I've talked about this tree, it's one of my favorite trees. It's an Adriatic type, green on the outside and crimson red on the inside. Wonderful. And this tree is highly productive after 2 or 3, 4 years. But look at it. This is what separates this tree. We talk about variants. I talk about variants a lot. This particular Adriatic, unlike, say, J.H. Adriatic or Acacia Green and a lot of others, even White Madeira, things like that, They're just Adriatics. They're all very closely related. There's not much difference between them, but there are differences between them. This particular Adriatic, which is close to a strawberry Verte, which came out of the mountains of Teramo, Italy. My uncle brought it back about 75, 80 years. He brought it with him, and he valued it tremendously. It's a long story. I told this story before, but I may tell it again in more detail. But this particular variety doesn't produce fruit right away. It just doesn't. You can pinch it. You can do anything you want to it. You know, I've got it pinched because I want more branch formation. It's a beautiful, beautiful, it's going to be a gorgeous tree. I've been growing this tree for over 50 years. And I can tell you that this is a gorgeous tree, a wonderful tree. It's got a tangy, tangy, tangy taste. I can't explain it. I like it. I like this tree. I love this tree, and it reminds me of my uncle, whom I loved enormously. He was a great fixer, and we grew figs together for many, many, many years, as far back as I can remember. And when this produces fruit, when it does, and it takes its good old time, when you start it off from a new cutting, when it does, it produces a lot, and it produces, uncharacteristically, it produces a fair amount of breba, which is something else that distinguishes this Adriatic from others, because characteristically they do not. Of course, Adriatics are very well known for their exquisite taste. As a family of figs, the Adriatics, a type of fig, they're just fantastic. But they're known to be late, especially in ground. So I would mostly in 7B and colder, 7A, colder, I would mostly advise to keep them in a pot. Unfortunately, this particular variety does not taste that well in a pot. I don't like it. I like it in the ground. It's a little late, but believe me, with a little tender loving care, you can get it to produce at the end of summer, like in early September, mid-September, and then with any luck, with Indian summer, and if you don't have too many remnant hurricane leftovers, you can get a great crop. And it's worth it's worth having it in your collection. Okay, I just love it when sometimes you don't get them. Sometimes it doesn't work out if it's rainy when they're getting ripe at the end of the season. But this is one that you can actually grow in 7B and 7A and get fruit from most of the time in ground, most of the time. And it's worth it because the years that you can't, so what? You know, it is what it is. It is. Okay, so this is that. I just wanted to show that quickly. And I'm almost finished this video. I don't want to really talk too much. You know, I've talked about this tree. If you want to see this tree in its glory and splendor, look at my video, Oldies But Goodies. And this is XL. This is Ira Condit, the greatest, in my opinion, fig scientist ever. It's his creation, and I had to give this a radical pruning too last year, like I did my Peter's Honey, and I demonstrated that on my 3 videos, which show a progression of what happens when you radically prune. Most fig trees, not all, depends. You don't want to do that to San Pedro types. I go into all that detail. I'm not going to rehash it, but this is a very prolific variety. It produces a lot of fruit, and they're very, very. It's a honey fig, but a very exquisite tasting honey fig. It's good, and I think I'm going to just wrap it up. I just would go on and on and on if I keep on going. This is my Chicago Hardy, and it has an abundance of fruit on it too, all over the place. It's a big tree. It's a big tree with a lot of fruit. And I don't want to go any further. I could, but I won't. Oh, you know, there's something I might want to show you. Let me go over here. There's always something, isn't there? Ah, look at that. Oh, I love my crepe myrtle. I'm sure you have an appreciation. You can take an extra moment to share my excitement on the crepe myrtle bloom. I look forward to it every year. Look how lovely. Just exquisitely beautiful. Look at that. Isn't it? Everybody out there can, I'm sure you could appreciate just one moment with me. How wonderful my crepe myrtle is. I love my crepe myrtles. I have another one out there. A smaller one growing up. I wanted you to see that. This is my Celeste, which is going to start producing fruit any day now. Any day. This is a medium-sized Celeste that I have, which also has an abundance of fruit. It's laden very heavily with fruit, as Celeste always is. It's just an abundant yielder of fruit. And this is my Desert King, which I featured one early figs in my video, one early figs, and I show a harvest there several times, and it's a beauty. And look how wonderful it's doing now. All these fruits, you know, they can be plucked off because these are main crop fruits and they need coprification, and they're not going to. None of these are going to come to fruition, none of them. So I can take the time to, and I should have, to pop them all off, because just let the energy be redirected into the growth, because this is where you're going to get your breba. See them? You're going to get your breba next year. You see the little bumps there, eventually they're materializing into breba. So you could just pop these off. Most of them, they're all fall off because they need pollination. They need to be pollinated, and they're not going to receive pollination because we don't have the fig wasp in 7B on the east coast of the United States. Okay, and so you just pop these off. When I'm finished with this video, I'll pop more off. And let's just go over here. I haven't featured this, I don't think. This is my Teramo Unknown. This is Big Bill's Teramo Unknown. And I made a cutting from a tree that I purchased from him a few years ago and brought it down here to put in the ground, and it's just doing marvelously. Teramo Unknown is a very, very hardy variety and very prolific. I like the taste of it. I like its characteristics. It's a no-nonsense fig. You see that it's starting to ripen. It's not a prima donna fig. It's a fig. It's a real fig. It's a producer. I have a video or two about that includes this variety. If you want to look through my videos, and you can see what it looks like back in New Jersey, getting ripe, and it's just pumps out figs. Just keeps pumping them out. It's a wonderful tree. Teramo Unknown. Again, Big Bill, off the beaten path nursery near Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and he discovered this tree and distributed it to the fig community, and I'm very glad that he did, because not many fig varieties get through my net. They just don't. I discard them. I've discarded so many, more than 100, so many varieties that just aren't suitable. Maybe they would be suitable for Arizona or California, but for, you know, the East Coast, for humid conditions, cold winters, they weren't, and so I discard them. Teramo Unknown I did not discard, because it's just a very worthy tree for your backyard, for in-ground. And it tastes good in pots too. It's not bad. I like it. I would recommend it both ways. And here's my little crepe myrtle, which is doing fine. I love growing things. I enjoy all of that very, very much. And I certainly do enjoy my beautiful crepe myrtles. I have some in Jersey too. Okay, with that, I guess it's time to say goodbye. Thank you very much for visiting. Enjoyed your visit. Good day.